All right, welcome back to the show, everyone, and good afternoon to you. Hope you guys are doing good. We are doing a continuation of the greatest era in NBA history. This is the entire 2000s recap. This is an hour-long video from the channel JZ Uncut. I'm linking the original video down below in the description, like I always do. Also, shout out to members. No long intro. Hopefully, at this point, you've watched the first part that I dropped this morning, and if not, that's probably the place to start. And then I'm doing 20 minutes worth here, and then once again we'll finish it off at night for the after dark. Everyone, please leave this video a like. Let's continue to roll on.
And Dallas took advantage, showcasing offensive fire.
Here, let me back it up like 15 seconds.
Greater responsibility on Kobe's shoulders. While Bryant thrived individually, tensions rose within the team, and the Lakers struggled to maintain any sort of consistency.
I'm sorry, not the Bulls. The Lakers just repeated at this point, so it's going in for the following
Suddenly,
season.
the Western Conference appeared wide open for the first time in a long time, and Dallas took advantage, showcasing offensive firepower that thrilled fans nightly. Yet, questions remained about their defensive ability, a weakness often exploited by more balanced teams like Sacramento and San Antonio, both quietly positioning themselves as the true threats in the West. In the East, the New Jersey Nets continued building on Jason Kidd's arrival, but struggled initially with their new expectations as reigning conference champs. Detroit's relentless defensive identity, led by Ben Wallace, became increasingly feared. They quickly established themselves as legitimate contenders, challenging the Nets' supremacy. Meanwhile, the 76ers found themselves at a crossroads. Iverson battled injuries and disagreements with Coach Larry Brown, creating an uncertainty about the direction after the recent finals appearance. All-Star Weekend became a global showcase, with Yao Ming's presence drawing international attention. Kobe Bryant dominated again, securing yet another All-Star Game MVP. As the playoffs began, it became evident that the landscape had dramatically shifted.
And that was Michael Jordan's last All-Star game.
The Lakers, still formidable, faced an uphill battle. Minnesota, led by Kevin Garnett, proved tougher than ever. Yet LA survived the first round, setting up a highly anticipated rematch against San Antonio. Tim Duncan was determined and at the peak of his powers. The Spurs defeated the Lakers convincingly, ending the dynasty's 3-year reign in dramatic fashion and leaving questions about Los Angeles' future. The Western Conference Finals pitted San Antonio against Dallas. The Mavericks, despite their potent offense, simply could not contain Tim Duncan, who showcased his unstoppable blend of patience, skill, and determination. San Antonio triumphed decisively, sending David Robinson to the...
I was just looking at that score. 5.5 left in the fourth quarter. Tied at 71. Yep.
Skill and determination. San Antonio triumphed decisively, sending David Robinson to the finals for one last championship attempt before retirement. In the East, Detroit and New Jersey clashed in a fiercely contested conference final series. Each game was physical and gritty. Ultimately, though, Jason Kidd's leadership and clutch performance proved decisive. The Nets won in a hard-fought sweep, setting up a finals clash against the San Antonio Spurs. The NBA Finals was a defensive battle from the start, defined by discipline and execution rather than just highlight plays. Duncan's consistency was by far the difference. Dominated on both ends of the court, he dismantled New Jersey's defense night after night.
Tim Duncan, and he's Duncan.
Game 6 became an iconic farewell performance for David Robinson. As Duncan led the Spurs to victory, the Admiral provided crucial contributions, ending his legendary career as an NBA champion.
And I'm so happy that's how it went down.
Duncan secured the Finals MVP award, complimenting his regular season MVP, a rare achievement highlighting his absolute brilliance. Detroit's Ben Wallace repeated as Defensive Player of the Year, solidifying his status as one of the league's premier defenders. Amari Stoudemire's impressive rookie campaign earned him Rookie of the Year, and Gilbert Arenas, who was blossoming with the Golden State Warriors, earned the Most Improved Player award, showcasing explosive scoring ability. This season represented a seismic shift. It wasn't merely the end of the Lakers dynasty, but the dawn of a new era defined by strategy, defensive innovation, and emerging stars who would lead the league forward. The Spurs' triumph felt symbolic, highlighting fundamental teamwork and discipline, while Duncan quietly solidified his legacy as one of basketball's greatest champions. As David Robinson walked off the court for the
Look at that gun. Look at that.
final time, championship trophy in hand, the NBA was reminded why it captivates fans.
That's a man.
The drama, unpredictability, triumph, and heartache that unfolds each year. As the 2003-2004...
By the way, how cool is David Robinson? Once he was done, he just like rode off into the sunset and never looked back. Kind of like Tim Duncan.
Season dawned, the league was preparing for a...
By the way, why am I hearing murmurs that Tim Duncan might be the next head coach of San Antonio? I'm a little confused because they did that trial run where he was like the assistant coach, And Tim Duncan said it clear afterwards. He was like, I have no interest in coaching. You know, he said like he doesn't feel that same excitement and intensity like he felt as a player. So he didn't plan on coaching. But now that Pop has to leave because of getting sick, maybe that's playing into it. Who knows?
Huge change. Let's start in Los Angeles. They were desperate to regain their championship throne. Already boasting Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal, they stunned the NBA by signing legendary veterans like Karl Malone and Gary Payton, creating what appeared to be an unbeatable lineup.
Yeah.
On paper, the Lakers seemed poised not to just reclaim their lost dominance, but to do so in historic fashion. The basketball world anticipated their coronation long before the season even started. In Minnesota, Kevin Garnett finally received significant help as the Timberwolves added veterans like Latrell Sprewell and Sam Cassell, signaling
my favorite era of Timberwolves, man.
Genuine championship aspirations. Dallas aggressively reshaped their roster, acquiring Anton Walker and Anton Jameson, believing a bold new identity might finally carry them to the top. But the most impactful offseason quietly occurred in Detroit. The Pistons, already a team known for toughness and defensive grit, hired legendary coach Larry Brown, whose reputation for defense and discipline promised to transform Detroit into a legitimate force. Detroit had traded talented scorer Jerry Stackhouse to Washington for the underrated Rip Hamilton, a gamble heavily criticized at the time, but one that ultimately reshaped their entire identity. Mid-season, in a bold move that further solidified their defensive toughness and versatile playmaking, Detroit acquired Rasheed Wallace from Portland. Wallace's fiery personality was considered risky, but the Pistons believed he was the missing piece to their championship puzzle.
He really was. He fit in absolutely perfectly.
While this is happening, the Spurs and Kings out west appeared overshadowed. The media crowned the Lakers champions in preseason coverage, overall dismissing other teams as merely challengers to their presumed greatness. And through all of this, would you believe we haven't talked about the draft yet?
With the first pick in the 2003 NBA draft,
Cleveland
Cavaliers select LeBron James.
The NBA witnessed the arrival of one of its most anticipated rookie classes ever. LeBron James joined his hometown Cleveland Cavaliers amid immense hype, quickly showing he was worth every bit of attention. Carmelo Anthony energized the Denver Nuggets, returning them to relevance instantly. And Dwayne Wade brought hope and excitement to Miami. It wasn't just talent, it was a changing of the guard as these young stars began reshaping the league's future. Oh, right, and the Pistons? Well, they drafted Darko Milicic with the number 2 pick. I don't want to talk about it. Throughout the regular season, Detroit quietly built momentum. They weren't flashy. Their victories rarely made the headlines, their roster lacking superstars to capture mainstream imagination. Instead, their strength lay in unity, discipline, and relentless defensive pressure. Chauncey Billups, a journeyman guard, emerged as a clutch leader, earning the nickname Big Shot Billups.
Guys, I was cheering for the Pistons so hardcore during this finals. I thought it was an impossible task and an impossible ask, but somehow they delivered, and I'll never forget that 04 Pistons team because of it. Thank you, guys. I don't know how you did it.
Wallace, a defensive powerhouse, anchored their interior. Rip Hamilton's tireless energy wore down the opponents nightly. Rasheed Wallace provided toughness, timely offense, and emotional leadership. Together, these castoffs formed an unlikely yet cohesive unit under Brown's disciplined guidance. Yet, despite their impressive record, Detroit was continuously overlooked, overshadowed by brighter stars and bigger stories elsewhere. The Lakers predictably dominated the headlines, but their season wasn't that smooth. Kobe Bryant dealt with off-court controversies, Shaq battled injuries, and the aging Payton and Malone struggled to fit into Coach Phil Jackson's intricate system. Still though, they finished strongly, securing a playoff spot. Most analysts dismissed their struggles as temporary, certain that they'd dominate when the games mattered most. In the West playoffs, LA faced difficult tests from the younger and hungrier teams. First, the Rockets, then the Spurs, and finally Kevin Garnett's Timberwolves in an intense conference finals. Each series took its toll, but the Lakers' experience ultimately prevailed, fulfilling their predicted destiny of reaching the NBA Finals. The East playoffs belonged to none other than Detroit. Every series enforced their underdog status. Victories came through physical battles and defensive intensity rather than high scores or flashy highlights. They faced a formidable Indiana Pacers team in the conference finals, led by a young Jermaine O'Neal and fiery Ron Artest. The series was brutal and physical, but Detroit's relentless defense and timely offense carried them through in 6 hard-fought games, earning them a place in the finals. In 4 of the 6 games, neither team scored 80 points. In 3 of them, Detroit held Indiana under 70 total points. This series was ultimately capped off from arguably the greatest block in NBA history.
Reggie Miller!
That's Tayshaun.
And then came the
the Scottie
2004
Pippen arms.
NBA Finals matchup. Detroit Pistons against the heavily favored Los Angeles Lakers. Media coverage overwhelmingly favored LA, labeling Detroit as possibly the weakest finals participant in recent memory.
As crazy as it sounds, if the Lakers won this would have been one of those historic, like, asterisk series where, like, well, there was no hope for Detroit to win. It was that lopsided. At least in our heads, it was that lopsided. Boy, were we wrong.
Here, but it ain't nothing that we ain't used to. So, you know, regardless of what people say, once that ball was thrown up, it's us against you.
Even the most optimistic Pistons fans doubted their chances. Conventional wisdom declared Detroit had no realistic shot against such
By the way, my dog is rolling around on the carpet next to me and growling like a lion. Yeah, you hear me. So if you hear any of that in the microphone, I apologize, but there's no stopping this monster.
overwhelming talent. But inside Detroit's locker room, belief simmered quietly. Coach Larry Brown instilled an underdog mentality, reminding his players nightly that they'd been doubted their entire careers. Each had a personal story of rejection, struggle, or disappointment. They had no superstars. They had no egos. Just grit, heart, and an unshakable belief in themselves and each other. Game 1 sent shockwaves across the basketball world. Detroit's relentless defense stifled the Lakers' star power. They didn't just win, they utterly dominated. Analysts called it a fluke. Certain LA would wake up, but as the series continued, the Pistons only grew stronger. Chauncey Billups calmly controlled the pace, hitting crucial shots. Rip Hamilton's constant movement exhausted the Lakers' older defenders. Ben Wallace frustrated Shaq with his defensive brilliance, all while Rasheed Wallace provided timely offense and fiery leadership. With every game, the impossible became more real. Detroit's defensive execution was flawless.
I just got to go back to something.
Defensive brilliance, all while Rasheed Wallace provided timely offense.
Oh, you stepped right into his path. Okay.
And fiery leadership. With every
Why did you shift? Why'd you shift in front of him like that? I don't understand what that. I don't understand what you were trying to accomplish
brilliance, all while Rasheed Wallace provided timely offense.
Oh, okay. If you just stay there, you're safe.
And
why did you shift while he was taking? Oh, well, whatever.
Fiery leadership. With every game, the impossible became more real. Detroit's defensive execution was flawless, dismantling the Lakers' supposedly unbeatable offense. By Game 5, the Lakers appeared broken, stunned by Detroit's discipline, tenacity, and unity. Incredibly, the Pistons completed one of the most shocking finals victories in NBA history, winning the series convincingly, not through luck, but undeniable superiority. Chauncey Billups earned finals MVP and acknowledgement of his
Guys, did they win 4-1? Did they beat them that bad? I tend to forget these things.
Leadership and clutch performances. Kevin Garnett, despite falling short in the playoffs, earned regular season MVP, recognition for his relentless effort carrying Minnesota. And of course, LeBron James earned Rookie of the Year honors. And Zach Randolph's breakout season with Portland secured him the most improved player recognition. The Pistons' improbable victory symbolized the essence of basketball's heart.
Yes,
teamwork,
it did.
Resilience, and the timeless underdog spirit.
Yeah, because 3 years of the Lakers winning the way they did and Shaq being the monster that he is, like, it felt unfair for a little while there. So the Pistons coming in and winning the way they did, it just kicked the door wide open for this entire era. Like, anybody can win. Anybody who plays hard enough can win. And I loved it. I loved the message that was sent to the league.
Championship wasn't just a triumph. It redefined expectations, proving that titles weren't always won by superstars or super teams, but sometimes by sheer belief, toughness, and an unbreakable unity. This season became immortalized as the year of the greatest underdogs, a team no one believed in achieving something few thought possible. They inspired every overlooked player, every doubted team, and every fan who'd ever dared to dream against the odds. Sorry, can you tell I'm a Pistons fan? This was actually the season where I became in love with the sport and my Pistons super fandom began. Entering the 2004-2005 NBA season, everything felt wide open. The Detroit Pistons had shaken the basketball world the previous year by upsetting the Lakers. However, despite their incredible victory, few were convinced that Detroit could repeat. Analysts and fans alike expected normalcy to return, believing superstar-driven teams to reclaim the spotlight. In Los Angeles, some big changes had reshaped the Lakers entirely. Phil Jackson stepped down as head coach, citing exhaustion from internal turmoil. Shaquille O'Neal was shockingly traded to the Miami Heat, effectively dismantling their dynasty. Kobe Bryant remained, finally becoming the Lakers' undisputed centerpiece, though uncertainty surrounded whether he could actually single-handedly lead a franchise to greatness. Miami's acquisition of Shaq immediately elevated them to championship contenders. Pairing Shaq with the rising star Dwayne Wade created an electrifying duo. Excitement surged through Miami as the Heat positioned themselves to challenge Detroit's supremacy. O'Neal, motivated by critics claiming that he was aging and declining, arrived in South Beach intent on proving them wrong. Meanwhile, out in Minnesota, fresh off Kevin Garnett's MVP season, they unfortunately struggled to maintain momentum. Internal issues and aging role players cast doubts on their ability to stay competitive. Sacramento, so close in previous years, finally began facing the harsh reality that their championship window might be closing, especially as Chris Webber's injuries took their toll. The Phoenix Suns emerged as the year's most surprising and thrilling story. They signed Steve Nash away from Dallas, a move widely questioned as many believe Nash's best years were behind him. Instead, Nash immediately transformed Phoenix into an offensive juggernaut alongside Amari Stoudemire.
We were the happiest fans in the world that year. I mean, for a couple of years there. But this year, man, there was excitement. Every single Suns game, me and the boys would all get together and just watch it somewhere. We'd have to watch every game we could that we weren't working. We were right there. It was so exciting. And after the Detroit Pistons just took down Goliath, we really believed we had a shot. You know, like we believed the West was wide open now.
Myers' explosive athleticism and Sean Marion's versatility, the Suns became the NBA's most exciting, fast-paced team, igniting fans nightly with dazzling, untempo basketball. There were also some important rule changes enhancing offensive play even further. The NBA implemented stricter enforcement on hand-checking violations, freeing guards like Nash, Wade, and Allen Iverson to attack defenses and renewed aggression. Scoring rose dramatically.
So dare I say this was the beginning of the end. This didn't kill it, but this was the beginning of the end, when they started compensating to try and promote more scoring.
Changing the league style.
The wrong direction.
Faster, freer basketball captivated fans. This marked a pivotal turning point for the NBA's future direction.
Because you see, in my opinion, as years would have progressed, if they didn't change the rules, then there would have been, players would have figured out, teams, coaches, they would have figured out new methods on how to score. With the zone defense intact and hand checking intact, how do we attack, how do we exploit these defensive weaknesses? I think it was going to happen naturally, but it would have taken more time, but instead they wanted to accelerate it. So they made it easy to score and hard for the defender to do anything. And I think that was a big mistake because it really would have balanced out. In my opinion.
Season, drama unfolded everywhere. Indiana entered.
What do you guys think? Do you guys think scoring would have eventually started creeping back up? A couple of points a year, until it got to a point where it was like in the, mid 90s to about 100 mark? Because I really do.
Strong contenders, but the championship dreams unraveled in a shocking early season incident. The Malice at the Palace became the most infamous brawl in NBA history. Year dramatically elevated Cleveland's relevance, proving himself as a legitimate star. Carmelo Anthony continued his scoring brilliance out in Denver, while Dwayne Wade blossomed spectacularly under Shaq's mentorship in Miami. As the playoffs approached, the Eastern Conference revolved around Miami and Detroit. Shaq's Heat dominated through sheer force and Wade's relentless attacking style. Detroit relied on their proven championship formula. The conference seemed destined for a Miami-Detroit showdown. In the West, Phoenix's exhilarating style secured the best record with Steve Nash winning MVP honors, silencing critics who had questioned his offseason signing. The Suns' offense seemed unstoppable, yet San Antonio quietly built momentum behind Tim Duncan's steady leadership, Tony Parker's speed, and emerging Argentine star Manu Ginobili's creativity and passion. The playoffs delivered thrilling intensity immediately. Miami steamrolled their first two rounds, setting up the anticipated conference finals against Detroit. The Pistons faced tougher competition.
Not gonna lie, this was such a good time to be a basketball fan, though. I was such a happy basketball fan. Like, all of these matchups were so great.
Including a grueling 7-game series with Indiana. They fought bravely despite being severely shorthanded after the early season brawl. The Eastern Conference Finals became
every series was like a battle, Sorry for the pauses, but like there's no gaps in between his sentences, so I have to pause it in order to say anything.
Unforgettable clash of contrasting styles. Miami's star-driven power versus Detroit relentless defensive unity created intense drama. The series reached a thrilling 7th game defined by heart and endurance. Despite Shaq's physical dominance and Wade's spectacular performances, Detroit's cohesive team play, discipline, and clutch shooting from Chauncey Billups and Rip Hamilton ultimately prevailed in a stunning Game 7 victory on Miami's home court. In the West, Phoenix's exhilarating playoff run captivated fans, yet their lack of defensive depth eventually became their Achilles heel.
Yeah.
The Spurs, battle-tested and disciplined, methodically dismantled the Suns in the Western Conference Finals. Duncan's composure, Parker's relentless pace, and Ginobili's timely heroics propelled San Antonio to the finals. The NBA Finals set up a fascinating matchup. Defending champions Detroit versus San Antonio's quiet yet relentless pursuit of yet another title.
And I was an angry Suns fan, so I was hoping Detroit would go back-to-back, and it would be kind of like poetry from what they did in 89 and 90.
Previous finals, this series showcased elite defensive execution and intense physical play. The series evolved into a chess match. San Antonio took early control, led by Ginobili's dynamic playmaking and Duncan's reliable consistency. Yet, Detroit's resilience was remarkable.
Also, look how cool the courts used to look in the finals. This is awesome. There's no mistaking what we're watching here. We're watching a championship.
Rallying to even the series and pushing it to a decisive Game 7. The ultimate finale became a gripping battle of wills. Every possession felt critical. Every basket earned through sweat, determination, and execution. In the end, San Antonio's poise made the difference. Not really. Rashid leaving Robert Horry open for 3 in Game 6 is what actually did it. Still haunts me and all the other Pistons fans to this day.
He always finds himself wide open. He always just happens to be wide open at the three-point line. This time, at least, it wasn't at the top of the key like normal.
Plays, Manu Ginobili's creativity, and the Spurs' overall composure secured their 3rd championship in 7 years, reaffirming their place as a modern NBA's dynasty. Duncan captured his Finals MVP again, solidifying his legacy among basketball's all-time greats. Though the Pistons just fell short, they earned profound respect. Their resilience, teamwork, and relentless effort proving their previous title was no accident. Ben Wallace, the heart and soul of Detroit's defense, earned his 3rd Defensive Player of the Year award, a fitting recognition for the league's best defender. Bobby Simmons, rising from obscurity with the Clippers, earned Most Improved Player. Emeka Okafor's outstanding rookie campaign secured his Rookie of the Year award. Ben Gordon's explosive scoring off Chicago's bench won him the 6th Man of the Year.
Yeah.
It wasn't simply San Antonio's
was Gordon the next Jordan? I sure felt that way for a little while there.
Championship triumph or Phoenix's thrilling offensive revolution. It was a year marked by dramatic stories and unforgettable battles that defined basketball at its very best. Then came the 2005-2006 NBA season. San Antonio was still viewed as one of the top teams in the league, and Detroit still stood strong in the East. But beneath the surface, powerful currents of change were reshaping the league. In Miami, the previous season's painful playoff defeat still burned fresh. Shaquille O'Neal and Dwayne Wade entered the season fiercely motivated to finish what they'd started.
Failure makes you hungry, makes you more determined, makes you want to do it again.
Pat Riley returned to coaching mid-season, replacing Stan Van Gundy in a surprising yet calculated move, signaling Miami's all-in approach to winning immediately.
Yeah, this was a boss move.
They surrounded their 2 stars with battle-tested veterans like Antoine Walker.
Fun fact, Pat Riley has employed both of these brothers, the Van Gundy brothers, Jeff back in New York, and then Stan in Miami. But he kind of did Stan a little dirty there. But what are you going to do? The results are the results, and you're about to see those results.
Gary Payne and Jason Williams determined that experience and grit would carry them to an elusive championship. Meanwhile, out in Los Angeles, they struggled to find a new identity around Kobe Bryant. Although the Lakers roster lacked star power and cohesion, Kobe elevated his game to staggering new heights. In January, he etched himself permanently into NBA history with an unbelievable 81-point explosion against the Toronto Raptors, a mesmerizing performance that still leaves me in awe. Phoenix remained a league darling, their explosive, free-flowing style even more captivating despite Amari Stoudemire missing nearly the entire year with a knee injury. Steve Nash was determined to prove his MVP season wasn't an anomaly, delivering yet another masterclass in playmaking, orchestrating the NBA's most thrilling offense and securing his 2nd straight MVP. And yet came some more storyline. Dallas transformed dramatically under Coach Avery Johnson's disciplined guidance, shedding their previous reputation as an all-offense, no-defense team.
Yeah, Avery's one of those guys that I'm shocked. He came in, had instant success, then he got replaced, and he never got another coaching gig as far as I'm concerned again. What happened to Coach Avery?
Still toughness and balance. Dirk Nowitzki thrived under his demanding leadership, becoming a more complete, determined superstar. Positioned in Dallas as serious contenders in the loaded Western Conference. Detroit, still resilient after their finals defeat, opened the season determined to reclaim their throne. Under new coach Flip Saunders, they delivered a dominating regular season performance. Billup's calm leadership, Hamilton's relentless scoring, and Ben Wallace's imposing defensive presence. But the narrative shifted dramatically when the playoffs arrived. The Eastern Conference once again revolved around Miami and Detroit. This time, the Pistons entered the conference finals heavily favored. Yet, it was Miami who seized the moment. Wade elevated his game spectacularly, attacking relentlessly and defying Detroit's defensive mastery. Miami stunned Detroit, winning the series convincingly in 6 games. Their veteran additions, criticized all season as past their prime, ended up delivering pivotal contributions exactly when it mattered the most.
They really did. Yeah, they really did. Especially Alonzo. I tip my hat out to him. I was so impressed with Alonzo, the amount of hunger he had in those NBA finals. But anyways, you guys, I'm gonna cut it here, and then we're gonna finish this off for the After Dark. So I appreciate you all watching with me. Leave your comments down below, and we'll have a conversation like we always do. And yeah, like the vid. Check out this channel if you want. Once again, it is JZ Uncut. And guys, I'll see you for the After Dark. All right, be water, my friends.